Laredo Max Mandel Golf Course Advisory Committee meeting. Notice of meeting agenda. Today is Friday, March 13, 2020, second floor of the Laredo International Airport. We'll not be calling roll right now or approving the minutes until we have a full quorum, but we will be discussing communication items right now. And gentlemen, whichever items you wish to talk to first, you have the floor.
And I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to thank the city for working with us on the Border Olympics in such a short notice. I will say that the tournament came off well. There was, not a whole lot of hitches. Am I right, Dennis?
Yeah.
Came off pretty well. Yeah, we had more rulings than we expected because I don't think the course had been tested in that type of mode. But what I did is that as customary every year, I asked the coaches to give me their feedback of anything on what did you like, what did you not like on the tournament, what can I change for the next year. Boom. I do that every single year, and I've been doing that for 30 years. And this year, everybody sent me back comments, and they were all positive comments. In other words, this particular person, and I wanted to read a few of them, okay, just so that you can say. First of all, thank you once again for having us down to the Border Olympics. We always look forward to our trip to Texas. As far as the Max is concerned, I think most of us would agree that it would provide a great championship if the greens were of better quality. Mm-hmm. I'm certainly not an agronomist and don't know what it would have taken to get them in tournament condition, but based on how nice the fairways played, I would have to think that it's possible. At the end of the day, putting green quality seems to be what has put most of the value on the course. Mm-hmm. That's a coach. They're from Ohio. Mm-hmm. And in this one, he says, here are my candid thoughts. Greens were terrible. Mm-hmm. If the tournament chose to go back there, I would not bring my team back. This is just not the quality greens that collegiate competitions can be played on. Number two, he says, fun course. I like the layout. Another comment he had was bunkers were inconsistent, either plugged from too much sand or had no sand and you had to blade out. His comments where he says, you remember when I was with A&M and Laredo Country Club was hard pan, no grass, but the greens were the best around. Right. Everyone loved it. Then the new sprinkler system was put in and the fairways and rough weren't really good, but the greens were poor. He says, we lost some teams and the club decided to redo the greens. He says, bottom line is the greens are everything. If the Max got the POA out of them and got them healthy so they could be smooth and fast, it would be one hell of a test. Mm-hmm. See? And this one says, same thing. Mm-hmm. The greens need to be 100 times better. Mm-hmm. The range balls were very low quality and not clean. Mm-hmm. But I love the layout and the people were great. One more. The condition of the greens were and the sand traps were a couple of the main reasons that need to be addressed. Some of the greens had better surfaces than other. It always seems to be that the POA gets into the greens easily when or if you don't chemically treat them properly or timely, which can be devastating to greens. If you have good or great greens, people can live with some of the other defects. The sand traps had multiple types of sand in them, and they were rocks and were very inconsistent, which made it harder to adjust to the conditions. And the condition of the rain balls made it tough to really know how you were hitting your shots. Last one, course architecture was very good. Course was very challenging. Why I wouldn't go back, green conditions. Everything boils down to just the mere fact that however, the current condition of the golf course is not to host a championship at this time. So, bottom line is that everybody had positive things to say about the tournament, but what I worry about is the greens. Yes. In other words, if the greens were in better condition, we would do that. Obviously, we had to do this at the Max this year because there was no other choice. We did what we could with it, But now going forward, if I had to knowingly move it over there, it probably wouldn't be the best suggestion based on the fact that I would lose schools. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not gonna jeopardize, you know,
Your brand.
69 years of the relationships that I have with a lot of these schools, you know, just for something like that. So.
There's no doubt. And I don't know, that gentleman that said when he was with A&M, I don't know if he's referring to Casablanca. Was he referring to Casablanca or the club?
No, at the club.
Because Crenshaw's and Kai's.
No. At Casablanca,
Yeah.
the coaches that are around from there, in other words, I haven't talked to any of those. They were not included in this group that sent me back. But all of those said the greens were perfect. For
Well,
condition.
yeah, I mean, back in the 70s and the 80s, Casablanca had the best greens in South
The
America.
Palacios made sure of that.
I mean, the turf was, you know,
Yeah, it was like hitting off the concrete.
exactly, but, you know, the deal is that soil is very alkaline and you can't, you know, whatever, you know, not to, but the deal is the greens are the greens, and,
But, you know, I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, but I also wanted to maybe promote something, and I don't know if we have it, Dennis, is do we, as a committee, have a schedule of what the maintenance items are on the golf course?
Tom is coming right now, and he has a schedule, and he can share it with you guys.
The thing about that, we had that schedule, and I'm super glad that, I believe when people are candid and straightforward about what we're doing out there, it only makes us better, because if you don't hear it from somebody, it's like owning a restaurant, man. If somebody doesn't tell you something about the food and it's horrible, well, you don't get that feedback, you're not gonna get better.
Yeah.
We knew going in that
All those challenges.
the product we were selling over there wasn't up to par. It was a shame, because for the last 9 years, it was in top condition, right? Something's going on, and then so, you know, I told this to Dennis back in September of last year. And not in a negative way. But the country club is closing down, that means we're gonna get more people. Be careful what you wish for. We started having a bunch of tournaments and a lot more people going in there. And I really don't think we were prepared, and we were undermanned, understaffed, and we didn't know what to expect. The course took a lot of damage. The Powana deal was something that I've never seen it like that before. And everything, it was like a perfect storm of ugliness that came to that course. And right at the moment, that's what I was so worried about. And I told JJ, the city needs to get on this, man, because I was afraid of those type of comments, but I'm glad that they haven't, because it justifies what we were feeling all along. You didn't have any other choice to take this thing anywhere else. I mean, the only thing we can do them is we can kill them with our kindness. And I think we did, we accomplished that. We
Right.
provided them with all the resources that they needed. We provided them with the hospitality that they needed. But it is what it is.
I mean, there are comments in here also that, you know, made comments like, it's too far away from the city. But, you know,
You're
the
coming
ones
from
that told
Ohio.
me, the ones that told me that, I said, come on, you don't play in Florida where you have to drive 45 minutes to your golf course?
those
In
are-
Dallas, anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I told him, I said, I'm not going to accept those. Those are going in one ear and out the other. What I want to know is what
Those are
could we do?
legitimate.
At the bottom line, it's always the course,
Correct.
as far as I'm concerned. The tournament. I could kill him with my kindness, but at the very end, if I did that 2 years in a row with a course,
Yeah.
I'd never have him back.
No, absolutely.
So Tom was coming in, and me and Tom had sat down and spoke about it, and this was what he sent me on a text, and that's what he was going to share with you guys and all that. He sprayed the greens yesterday with Revolver. Last time we sprayed it was when University of Houston equipment. It was yellowing up and all that stuff.
Right,
yeah, I
remember?
saw that.
And then he puts same rate sprayed, same day. Think we're getting some resistance populations building up to Revolver, which happens over time, which is a common problem elsewhere. So I will treat a second round with a herbicide called Curb next week. So this is the first year that it. I mean, you've been there every year.
Yeah,
Number one
this
just
is like the plague, man. It came in and it kicked us in the butt. But
Yeah.
there was and that's just the written comments right there. I've been getting, and I don't
Yeah.
know if everybody else in the committee, we've been getting bombarded
Yes.
for the last 2 months. I mean, people
With-
calling us daily complaining about that, about the
About the
course.
pole.
And so let's take that part aside. We take the greens out of the picture. There's a number of other things that are going on, and this is what I came down in assessing. But I personally went out there to start fixing divots.
I
last week.
made them.
Yeah, he cracked the whip. But the biggest thing that I noticed, and we talked about it back in September, that the course is severely undermanned. It just, from a management point of view, they don't have enough people. If you look at the quality of the carts at the country club, they're spotless. And Louis Pellerin was talking about that the last time. And so when we have one guy at the barn doing all that work, and then plus fixing divots and doing all that, we're gonna wear the dude out. So the idea back then was, and I don't know if you and JJ got to speak about it, I know under the terms of your contract, I'm not sure if it specifies how many employees you're supposed to have to do that kind of stuff. If it does say that, then we need to get there. But we can't get there because I don't think when they built it, and I don't think when you guys were doing this, that you took into consideration the distance of going over there. Because remember, we said we were gonna get some kids from TAMU to go out there. Well, there ain't nobody gonna get hired over there for $8.50. They're not gonna make it. They're gonna spend all their money on
Math
gas.
on the gas.
May I offer some comments on that? How long have you had the contract?
We're
Because
going.
I think you hit in
Yeah,
on the gist.
we're
of the
going on
problem.
5 years.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, and when that contract was being negotiated, and I haven't seen that contract, okay? But I think that given some of the discussions with council members and the hangover that the city had from, with the deficit that Forsyth Golf was running, which was in excess of $750,000 a year. There were provisions put in their contract where if they were gonna get their contract renewed, they had to meet certain thresholds in the reduction of the deficit. So, I mean, some of the matters that, some of the immediate actions where they got rid of the lady with the green hair.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
She was just-
And then Jorge went by the wayside, and the only one that was sticking around with Dennis, to his credit. But the biggest ticket item is the maintenance of the golf course. Look, and I know it's a public course, but the deal, the underlying point in the gift of the Mandel family to the city was, yes, it's a public course, it's a municipal course, but we want to be treated and maintained as a private course. And there is language, and I not to get into the legalese stuff, in the gift deed that says, hey, the course has got to be maintained according to this standards. And it's very specific. So therefore, what I'm saying is these guys have no alternative if they want to keep the contract, but to reduce costs. And now, unless the contract has changed. And I used to have some discussions with the guy from Nebraska. What's his
Brandon.
name? And frankly, he says, Conrado, I like talking to you, but you're not my client. You're the city's. And I had a voice because I represent Mandel family. I said, fine. Vamos. But I think that's where it all starts.
I think
You cannot maintain 270 acres of grass. And you see, and one of the things about Islitas is farmland. So, I mean, it's very generous. With any kind of water out there, I mean, the turf
It is.
comes up. But you came, and how many people you got out there?
In maintenance, we got 8, including Tom, and then staff, we do 4
Okay.
people a day.
Now, over there, and again, not that the country clubs, but they have 17, 18 people.
Yeah.
22.
Yeah,
I asked that question before I came in.
I-
I knew that was gonna be,
It's-
it's 22 people on the course.
Yeah,
See?
And
maintenance.
then there's 6 people inside.
So one of the things that I've always said is, so these guys, they gotta do what they gotta do to get their contract renewed.
Yeah.
So this thing about it all comes down to the money, and it's something that's gonna have to be addressed somehow by this committee and Gary as representing the Mandel family with the council, because it's dollars. We Butterfield Trail in El Paso, which is on the way to Fort Bliss. It's a muni course, but it runs back, and when Horacio was still here and as an assistant city manager, it was running a deficit of $850,000, and they wanted it that way. but the course was maintained. And I think that we're gonna have to make a decision, when I say we, the council, and say, well, what kind of course do we wanna maintain? And one time I asked the head agronomist of this guy's landscape, I said, well, what does it take? And his answer was, well, how do you want it maintained? And I said, obviously, you have not read the document in which the land was deeded over and gifted over
I
to
think
the city.
that's where the gap exists, because the other thing, then you guys scared the hell out of me, especially what you said the last time, and I agree with it 100%. At any point, we don't want a representative from Trent Jones coming in here and watching that, because he's gonna pull the name. You know, that's not representative of that course is not representative of because that's branding for them. And if they see that the upkeep is not to their specifications also, they have the right to do that. It might not be under their contract, and it might
No,
not
it
be-
is. Gary told me.
Yeah, it
Gary
might
told-
not be under, so there's a gap between what the Mandel family has deeded over to the city,
Hey, Tom.
and then from the city, from the city over to the golf course management company. And so the point is that, hey, Tom, how you doing? Good?
Long time no see.
So that area is one of the things we have to, I think we can address it, and it's been already readily known already for 6 months or so, that the being undermanned is a huge problem there. So in my mind, I'm thinking that, and I spoke to JJ about it, if we need to adjust the fact that he can't get any people out there because under the contract it says, well, I need 17 people at minimum wage, let's say. We're gonna have to figure out a way to how to adjust that, because it's affecting the product over there. And I don't know if it's feasible to do. The course is financially is healthy. I think they're gonna do some deficit reduction. You should be able to do that now. So you're doing better at that point than what the other company was doing. So now we have to figure out how we can have the city reinvest.
Well, one additional point, the deficit reduction should not be at the expense of the condition of the golf course.
I agree.
It should be through the generation of additional rounds. And there's a challenge there. I mean, we could bring in, Arnold Palmer
Yeah.
to run the golf course. May you rest in peace. And there's a certain stigma about going to the banks during the week. You know, now I've done it. And the folks at the city, in terms of their marketing, have never really broached, you know, be able to say, hey, you know, everybody says the trucks. Well, you know, it's like, hey, the trucks are the meat and potatoes of this community. I'm not gonna complain about
Yeah,
trucks.
I mean, there's
I certainly am not. I was in that business.
Right now, there's over the last 2 years, and I go, in some cases, I switch it around. I go during the week, during the weekend, on Fridays, and I've seen that there's an incredible community building up over there. There are groups on Monday, there's groups on, and Tuesday is slow, but it's coming around to doing that.
Well, and we have more coming,
Yeah.
hopefully with Premier Properties building those houses on 16 and 17. I mean, and they're not gonna be little houses.
No, I
We're
agree.
hopefully gonna get more people out there, encourage the play, you know. The deal here is, in terms, and this is foresight. You know, the guys at the country club, Jeremiah and those guys, reached out to the other guys to try to do something. And this is what Peter Palacios, that used to run the country club, was in charge of foresight. And they were trying to work out a deal where they could, and this is when the course was, you know, we didn't have the challenge that we have now. In terms of say, hey, let's do the API tournament, which at that time the oil and gas was really going full blast, and they were trying to do something so could make the tournament more attractive. But you know, Foresight never could meet the requirements that Jeremiah or the country club have in terms of how you want to price out this deal.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
And we had, I think the situation's changed. 2012, 2013, the relationship was somewhat adversarial. Now, you know, whether that was done consciously or unconsciously, you know. But now the thing is kind of settled down, and you know, Pancho and I were having a discussion. This thing about fixing the max, it's not a matter of, hey, we want to compete with the country club. or Casa. It's
No.
just a matter of having more golfing venues in the city of Laredo and make it more
Absolutely.
attractive. That's
The
what-
Absolutely.
people let's be honest, the people that go to the club for a big experience. They use the pool, they use the tennis courts, they use the dining room. So since they have all that, that's where they play golf a
Yeah.
lot of times.
That's their playground.
That's their playground.
Exactly,
But
and they
there's
like
a
that.
whole big world larger than that community of the country club that needs the max, and we need to cater to those people.
And that's me. That's the conversation I was having with one guy yesterday. You know, he wasn't very happy, obviously, but. And then I welcome it. I said, look, and I invited him to the meeting today. I said, man, you can come out here. One thing that and I told him what we were trying to get done. We were kind of overwhelmed, and I think I started putting it together. That's what I'm telling you. So it was a combination of about 4 or 5 things. Number one, there's a community. He said it like I just said it right now. Damn, Rick, that's our home course, man. This can't be representative of what we do. We take pride in that place, and so. But we're up against the wall right now because the level of satisfaction is dropping dramatically with the quality of the course. And so we started thinking about it and kicking it back and forth. And yeah, we came up with those 3 factors. One, we're severely undermanned in the quality control aspect of it. As minute as it might seem, the cart's not having sand or water or being cleaned or not being able to see clearly through that thing. It's a big deal, bigger than I thought it was because more people are complaining about it.
One point that really raised a red flag, first meeting I was here. What was Gomez chasing? He was chasing $20,000 or whatever to bring in sand.
Yeah,
First thing that came to mind, that means that the only thing that's included in the budget in terms, and this is the city, this is not this guy's,
yeah,
is the operating budget that this guy provide. There was never a discussion about what the course needed from a capital, from a maintenance standpoint,
Yeah.
not an operating standpoint.
right.
And you go to any of those guys in San Antonio, what are they? They meet with the people that own the property.
Yeah.
They come together and say, this is what we want to do from a capital project standpoint. And then they present to the owners. And that's what this committee's got to work at. I asked somebody here at first meeting, I said, hey, well, what's the charge of the committee? I mean, what is a committee? What is a charter? What does it say? What are we supposed to do? The deal here is you got to come up with an idea of what you want to do and it's input from these guys as to what you want to do, and then the committee sets a priority. We're going to fix this. And now like I said, now people didn't pay attention to me. One of the big ticket items besides the sand and the green, the other ones coming up is the pond on number 16, number 17. What is it? 17. Okay, because for that, it loses a lot of water. And at one time, they were gonna put a cover there, but I mean, you're talking about.
It loses a
400,000.
lot of water?
Huh?
It does have a leak. No? That's
It
what
goes,
yeah.
you know where that is?
Where does it leak?
It leaks into where the pump for the Islitas farm is. That's where it goes. It goes back to the river.
No, really?
Yeah. Now, there's gonna be certain things as a result of this development with Premier Property, so they could get the plat approved, where you're gonna have instead of detention ponds, which nobody likes to do, they call them drainage channels. And the drainage channels, in the agreement between the city and the Mandel family, have to be in the golf course. So what could happen is, which is gonna settle the situation about people cutting over that
house,
shack.
17, yeah.
You extend that pond, extend it all that low area, and that will serve as that, But then you gotta go get approval from the Trent Jones about that.
Yeah.
Well,
Because you're doing something on the course?
That you're changing the course.
having said that, I agree with everything that you're saying.
Well,
So the committee, well, that's just so you know, and you're right about, because we've been trying to put a mission statement together so that we can identify the whole idea. It took me 2.5 years to bring everything together so that we can finally sit down and have that. Now that we're here, I'm going, what do we do next? And I think my personal thought was that we needed this would work as an oversight committee more than anything else, because you wouldn't believe the resistance that I got from the city in trying to put this thing together. Because I told them, these guys are 19 and a half, 20 miles, 23 miles away. and you have no representatives going out there right now. They need to answer to somebody the same way that somebody needs to be overseeing them. And so the idea of doing this was specifically for that, so that those questions can be asked. That, what is our game plan? What goals are we gonna follow? What are we trying to do? And then after that, hey man, 1, 2, 3, break, let's go and get it done.
But, you know, thinking about what you're saying, it's basically taking what they want to do with what can be done, and we play that middle role in there, and let's make certain, let's facilitate it for them with them.
We didn't have, before that JJ got assigned to this, and then Parks and Rec and Ruth got assigned to this, they didn't have anybody to speak to. They were speaking, they needed maintenance, a maintenance crew out there for some AC or whatever. They used to have to call every department. And I said, that's not your role. I think you ought to be speaking to one person and then.
Exactly.
And then going
Yeah.
out there, and so
But see-
that's JJ now. So
Yeah.
we figured that part out, and now they're working well together. The thing is, where do we go from here now? Now that we got, and believe me, there was a couple of sleepless nights for me personally. I didn't want that course to look the way it was and have those people go in there for Border Olympics. It was devastating to me to see that, because, but for the same reason.
They're good people.
No,
I
no,
mean-
I get it. I just didn't want the branding. In other words, it's sort of like walking into your house and you have you're prideful of it, and then the week right before it's gonna happen, shit, your house is dirty or something happens, and then you're not getting the best product, the best optics of it. You know, you're going in there and it didn't present that. So that's something we need to work on. But now that that's over with,
Well, let me give you my thought. My thought on that, to close the gap in the whole thing. When, if and when, and I'm saying more when we get it back up to the way it should be, in that year, I will hold the College Jam tournament out there and our tournament, let's say at the country club. So instead of me taking, okay, come back and play over here. No, we're gonna play the tournament over here, and your practice round you can have here, but I want to do the College Jam here. So the coaches bring their players and they maybe play a little bit. We'll work with the city on the timeline there. And that way they see it. But the whole idea is, let's get it back to where we need to get it. I was mentioning to them, as much as we tried to do on the greens, I was mentioning the letters that I got, that the greens were the one thing. We knew that going in.
I think you made that clear to the coach from Houston.
Yeah.
That, hey, it's not gonna be, this thing happened, it popped up, we're gonna have to live with it.
And all of them live with it. All of them were fine with it. I mean, the one coach from Louisiana Lafayette came up to me and says, Pancho, you could put it on the carpet there. He says, these boys are gonna have to putt it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference. Everybody's playing the same thing. So don't let anybody, get into your head on this thing. Fine. In the future, we'll try and address it. But for right now, that's what I wanted to make certain that was discussed, is that
Correct.
moving forward, we got to take this. And then the other comment that I didn't make is that I know that the D2 athletic director told me that he's getting pounded by coaches about the Jack Brown. And they're actually thinking of moving the Jack Brown out of town. Jack Brown out of town and hosting it somewhere else because the greens are in such poor shape. So we need to, that is number one, the big thing that we need to get.
So let's go over that right now, Dennis.
I mean, let me talk a little bit, because I think he brought up a great point, that I think we should have a little bit of input, and it's hard because everybody has this input, and I'd like to say, scale it back and let us talk a little bit every time, in the sense that, like Mr. Conrado said, I think we're there every day, we see every day, we know what's needed, what's not needed. We have to follow protocols and numbers, but at the end of the day, I'm glad we're here. I'm glad this committee's here. To me, the first year, great, we met every month, but there was nothing being done. Now we're here, and there's a budget coming up, right? So we're planning our budget here in the next month or so.
Right.
This is where it's gonna come down to you guys allowing the councilman understand why he's gonna need more chemical.
Yeah, that's exactly. We need to play that role for you.
Exactly, and we're gonna need more labor, and we're gonna need more stuff, because when I was just helping out, there was Clema Owen and Jorge Flores, 90,000, 55,000.
Yeah.
I took it over because I have a pride in the max.
Yeah.
I took it for $55,000 a year.
Yeah.
So $140,000 to $55,000. A $95,000 reduction overall, right there.
Right.
And I do a better job than both of them. I'm sorry. That's the damn truth.
That was the truth.
So at the end of the day, we started from day one again. Tom, same thing. The guy before him was $100,000 a year. He's at 70.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, that's a lot of the stuff that's been reduced, and we don't complain.
Which
because-
I'm not too, and that's a very good point, but I'm not, I don't think it's fair to, and Tom can talk for himself, but you gotta pay people.
Yeah,
well.
market value.
I am, look, you gotta wake up every day and be wanting to go out there because they're
So-
treating you well and all that.
So the point of all that wasn't to say this is what we're doing for this. This is the point to say, like, we're now at the point where we're gonna have budget talks, right?
Yeah.
So this is the perfect opportunity.
I call the finance guys,
Mhm.
okay, because I used to run finance for the
Correct.
city.
I remember those days.
Okay, some years ago. So I said, hey, does the max have a, because before it was just kind of some kind of line item in a general fund somewhere. It says, I said, how do you all account, how do you manage the max now? He says, this is what you call in municipal accounting, it's a special revenue fund. Okay, fine. I said, and what is the budget? And I already knew. The budget is a one line item that says $1 million something. And I said, where does that come from? Landscapes. So what we want to do in terms of his comment and your comment is when we start talking budget again, we got to get the budget people here in this committee to start hammering out the budget, their budget, and also not only the budget, but what he needs to bring up to maintain the course.
That's
Exactly.
exactly the
Absolutely,
point.
because what was happening before, and that's right, and that's, we waited, Jay, when he took over this thing, he was right at the tail end of the budget hearings, and they had already.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
So, but now here we are. And
Exactly.
so now we need to make sure that, well, number one, up to 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that place looked, was great. So nobody had any complaints. We're just going through the 90-day period right now, stumbling because of the weather. Now Tom is gonna get it back up to par. But we do have to ask because you're really taking it to the next level. So we need to, at that budget hearing, get these people what they're gonna need. But now we're able to say staff recommends this and the committee recommends, so we can go to council and say, this is what's gonna happen. Because
Yeah, that's right, the committee's gonna have to select the council.
yeah,
That's exactly right.
deservedly, they're gonna have to do it, because remember, everybody that I spoke for those 2.5 years, Rick, every golf course loses money all over the country, man. You're not gonna get that thing to make money. I said, bull, that place right there, and you're right, I've always had pride in taking care of it as if it wasn't a municipal course, because that thing looks like a country club course, and I wanna keep it like that. I wanna, the level of it has to be up here. So I said, I guarantee you we can make it, we can have it make money. Like those corporate plans, we need to start pushing those things, but that's another issue. But right now, we need to figure out on, if we're gonna sell this thing, we need to get that thing to be beautiful again.
Yeah.
And figure out how we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
And so once we get there, then we can start hammering out.
But it's almost a two-edged sword there, because exactly what Dennis is saying is that they need to speak up, speak your piece to the committee.
Correct.
And then then what we do as a committee,
So you're the-
we need to make certain that we sell that properly to the city to get, I mean, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking mainly at Tom,
Yeah.
to get him more people,
Better
the
equipment.
equipment that he needs, because the comments, getting back to the comments that I read a little while ago, the comments from everybody was, it's a fabulous layout.
Damn right.
It's a fabulous layout. It's just the condition, and really condition of greens, conditions of the bunkers. Then other than that, everybody, the fairways were in great shape. Everything was good. It was just that. I mean, these people were I mean, they're little things, mainly because we didn't have you've never had a big tournament out there. Tom and I, we talked about this thing that day. We hadn't marked until the rules guys were out there with us. Yeah, but that's you do it anyway. I mean, you're going to drive around. Those things can be corrected in a matter of moments. It's just the bigger deal. But we need to get them
Agree.
the tools.
Agree. And then, so, I don't know about you, so JJ is in charge of Parks and Rec now,
Oh, I
and
know.
he's the one that they speak
the
to
old
now.
guy.
Now they speak to him about that.
Read those.
And then so, Jay, we don't have quorum right now,
Right.
but in order for us to use this time appropriately, just to have. this
Because Pancho has to leave.
Because, the main players, I think the people that are in this room right now are pretty much knowing, and we wanted to hear from Pancho, those comments that came in from Border Olympics is something we needed to hear, something that we pretty much already knew. But now we're here today and we need to figure out, when are we gonna get back up to par? What do we need to get Tom so that this thing can happen? And then lay out a plan for that. Because, and I'll tell you, the other thing that's going on, let's say right now at the county, at the Casablanca, these guys are playing defense all the time. Ask the county for money for this, ask the county, I don't like working that way. We need to have a set plan, set amount of monies that we need to work with, and so we can move forward. And we gotta be like the Roman army, where everybody takes one step forward, and then there's
In
that.
Casablanca, the guys in the county,
Huh?
the judge and the commissioners, they're committed to bringing up that.
Yeah, but they're going out there and they're not having these formal type meetings. They're just going to tell them, we need this, we need that.
Pero it's, and it's a good deal because you need it for the schools in the south and for the LIC school.
Yeah.
So you see, look, it's good that they keep the course. I mean, the idea is that course is something special.
It is. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that the committee should really consider start meeting over there rather than here.
Could be. We're doing it once a year right now because everybody can make it out there.
Well, you
But-
see, and this is where we start talking about the time and what it takes. And this is what's it's always been a challenge. Who are you gonna get to golf on a weekday? Retired people,
Yeah.
or give a shits, one of the two. That don't wanna go to work.
So which one are you?
I'm in the latter.
He's
I'm in the latter.
I'm retired, I'll give a shit. But, so, it's all, those people are gonna go, they're gonna opt and they're gonna default to this one because.
Well,
And we've always talked about with the guys, well, what do you do? Well, you can do this, you can do that. But
this past like I said, this past month, we've been getting, and I spoke to JJ yesterday, we've been getting pounded, phone call after phone call after phone call. The complaints are rightfully so in certain areas. But I think the biggest thing, I called the PAGA guys, the president of PAGA, and I told him, look, you guys gotta help us out with this because you're the biggest group out there. And I'm telling you, everybody has to have a vested interest in getting this course.
And Paga gets a good deal because I'm familiar with that deal. They get a good deal and they've gotten preferential treatments
Yeah.
specialty boxes for them and all that. This guy go above and beyond. But let me tell you, going back to the golf course, what do you know what the genesis of where this thing started? Why we had a private club now? Because back in the late '70s and early '80s, when people like Max Mandel, Gary Jacobs, Javier Garza, guys from Lorena National Bank were trying to bring in maquilas into Nuevo Laredo.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the first thing they asked about was
Golf course.
schools
Country
and
club.
country club and private clubs.
Yeah.
So then the banks, that's how that started. And so my point here is, in terms of the max, is that it's an economic development tool for the bank. I mean, for the city.
Yeah.
So I say, hey, so we're gonna have council. And you're the elected official, you sell it to your constituency. You're gonna have to sell the max in terms of this, that you're gonna have to divert money for economic development into the maintenance of the golf course. I've always said that. So therefore, what that does, so you put in $500,000, that means these guys are gonna be working with a $350,000 deficit. Then that's palatable. But when you couple an $900,000 deficit at the golf course to the subsidies that already have to be provided for the ballpark
Yeah.
and for the
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
you call that deal. So you're talking now in terms of selling it to the people that vote, you're already talking in excess of $2 million and a half of deficits that the general fund has to cover.
Yeah.
See, and that's why so the golf course being the young one, the low man on the tobo, that's why it gets the Mexican violin.
There's several good ideas, but that's why I was telling JJ, I don't want him to be tapping into his budget because we're not working with
Oh my God.
We're not tapping
recorded
into
that?
Yes.
every, all the resources, because JJ has a huge, a huge problem with everything else that he's got going on. I don't want him to be tapping into his budget to try and satisfy this. That's what I'm telling him. We're playing defense right now. We're not really organized and to try and get a set figure and a set amount and a set game plan so that you and Dennis can talk this out
Right.
and figure out how we're gonna get this course up to par. And then be as brutally honest as we can about everything that's needed out there. And as it stands right now, it's not working. I
You
mean, the
know,
way it looks.
Dennis,
But-
actually, you know, I mean, you run probably the biggest department in the city, right?
Yes,
Am I right?
ma'am.
So,
It
I mean, you know,
Geographically
to be
also.
very frank about, you know, he's gotta have an intermediary to handle the golf course.
Mhm.
Now, whether Dennis can be a quasi city employee, I mean, I don't know about that. But the deal is, we got to have, during the construction and the initial years of the course coming into being developed, we had one guy that we talked to all the time, and that was Horacio, when he was assistant city manager, because he was getting that project. So, I mean, it was very simple, you know. It was career, either, you know, if you don't make this thing go, it's gonna be your, you know, your lower posterior, you know? So that's why it got a lot of attention. And all of a sudden, the thing developed, you know? And all of a sudden, and then we started changing, and then he moved on to some other things, and then there was a gap there.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean, so Tom, now you've been sitting there quietly, and and believe me, the last time you spoke here was very educational. I like the game plan that you set forth. Obviously, we ran into the snag right now, and also now the $64,000 question goes up to you, and figure out, you know, what we're gonna be telling everybody that's out there. Number one, they're telling us, I've been telling them, look, we were waiting for the heat to come, so that can be part of the fix-all. But now they're, you know, pretty much the last 10 calls that I got over the last week or so is, when is it gonna get back to the level that it was before?
Yeah.
And so that I mean, I'll divert to you so that.
Yeah, he's,
Well, I mean, as far as the tournament, there were a few things at play there. First of all, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. It was
Yes.
kind of sprung on us. And as far as all the new sand went in, we were out there trying to work it down the best we could with fire hoses and everything else. But even then, there were some buried lies that some of the players were coming up with, and some comments. Which, you know, as the spring goes along, that sand's gonna settle. And we're gonna be left with some pretty nice bunkers, which, in the past, I think, if they had anything major to say about the course, it was great course, bunkers stink. And so, unfortunately for the tournament, they didn't
We didn't
reap
have
the
the time, you're
benefits
right.
of that. But going forward, I think that's gonna be a big help to the golf course, as far as complaints and how it plays. As far as the greens, there again, you're having a major tournament in February, and winter greens here at the Max, we don't overseed those greens. So you've got Bermuda grass that, in a sense, is dormant. We dealt with some winter intrusion of some Poana this year. Have always had it on number 1, have always had a little bit of it on number 2, number 9, but it was a little more extensive this year.
It was like a carpet on number 1.
Yeah,
1 and 2.
and the
Let me have
thing,
that.
yeah, and the way, and this is a problem with any golf course you're gonna find in the southeast that has Bermuda greens, and it's an older golf course, and they don't overseed. You're gonna have that. The conditions come out where you get 50 to 60 degrees and you get moisture. Those Poana seeds are in there and they're gonna germinate. So really, and those grass plants that are dying out now are throwing off that seed for next year's crop. So really, it comes back on us in trying to kind of reevaluate our plan. How are we gonna deal with this? And in the past, we've just dealt with it with post-emergent herbicides. So what we see come up, we go out and we nail it. With Poana, you can have 2 or 3 crops during the winter. And I think that's kind of what was in play when we had your tournament. When we were walking the course with the Houston coach, a lot of it was dying out. and he made the comment, you know, after making the rounds on the course, he could see where it was prevalent on some greens and it was working its way out. But we had some more come in. We had some colder weather. We had some rain. We have some challenges with those post-emergent herbicides. When it's cold, they don't work as well, and they usually take 2 or 3 weeks to do what you want them to do.
Would
So-
1 and 2 benefit from a
so-
resurfacing?
So whether, well, not a resurfacing as such, you'd have to start from the ground up because those seeds are in there.
Yeah.
But I think what needs to kind of happen from here on is a pre-emergent applied in October. That'll kind of inhibit those seeds from coming up.
Yeah.
And the ones that still come up, come back with your post-emergent herbicides. The one that we've been using exclusively, Revolver, a lot of golf courses having some problems with resistance with Revolver.
Does it become tolerant?
It becomes tolerant. And definitely we see that in number 1 because when we go out and apply Revolver, we see kill in all the greens except number 1. And
They see the little seeds down there going,
you can see it. She'll walk on one green and you've got yellow poana.
Hey, Tom.
That, so those little yellow deals,
Yeah,
that's what it
that's
is?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom,
So,
so does overseeding help?
well, overseeding would give you a smoother surface because you wouldn't
But-
have the dormant Bermuda.
Yeah. But I
Or
mean,
the-
in terms of the crab,
Poana.
I call it crabgrass.
Yeah.
But it won't.
no, it won't get rid of it.
No.
You would still have poana, and when you overseed, you use a poana
And,
trivialis, which is a variation of the.
And we're
stuff
talking
Same
about
thing, yeah.
$100 right, to oversee?
Yeah.
Yeah. we're
Bucks
talking
and,
about
and
$100.
downtime is the
Yeah.
hardest part. And it's
Yeah,
our best
downtime.
time of the year for us.
Guys, I gotta go.
Okay,
See y'all later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think we need to start incorporating some other chemicals in there. Curb is an older one that came out before Revolver. It's got less resistance problems. It has some runoff qualities that aren't so good about it if you get rain. But our course is wall-to-wall Bermuda, so that's really not a problem. Some of the courses that have cool season rough and they have Bermuda fairways and they use curb, sometimes they can get it to run out and kill their rough areas. But we're solid wall-to-wall Bermuda. So I think those two things, as far as a pre-emergent Ronstar is okay to use on an ultra dwarf Bermuda, which is what the greens are. And then rotating the herbicides in the winter. And we'll get a much cleaner look out there.
Well, I mean, like from a bird's eye view here, I mean, what you're talking about, to me, it's easier for me to go to the dictionary, go to the encyclopedia, or go to the internet and understand how an atomic bomb is made and what you're talking about. But the point here being is, you should have the latitude to do that when you think you ought to do it. And if you don't have that latitude, is that because of a budget restraint?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we all have to look in the mirror and realize
no, that's
that
fine.
it's budget
No,
restraints.
I understand that, I
yeah.
understand that.
Mhm.
Remember that, the
Yeah,
deal.
you and I
with
have
the-
always talked about
Yeah,
Well,
but the distilled water, remember?
right now, Dennis, I think that it's a great question, but again, remember, because this committee, I guess it's in the infancy stages, and we're playing defense. We're playing like a full court press right now, trying to figure out this stuff. I really don't want Tom to get to the point where right now he's asking for about three things, and I'm not sure if they have it in their budget to get it done. Just like we did with the sand, it puts pressure on your department to try and get him there, but it's something that we need to do before it gets even worse.
Oh, yeah.
And then now that we're gonna go into budget, we can actually put a game plan together that says, because now we have actual numbers, because this couldn't get any more expensive than what it did this year. Because number one, you're not gonna need the sand next year, hopefully not,
Yeah.
but then you're not gonna need those, you're gonna tap into the right herbicides that you're gonna need. So now we can put a truer number into what is needed out there.
Right.
Because like I said, I don't want them to, right now, the city put you kind of like in the corner, and says, well, you take care of it, Jay, and everything's coming out of your budget, so now you
Yeah,
gotta
but
make.
that shouldn't be.
Right, right,
That
so,
shouldn't work.
so that's what I'm telling you, it's happening right now, but it's not gonna, I don't want you to suffer, your department to suffer, because we're
Yeah.
trying to help
No,
them.
And on the budget side, again, you're right, I came in August, which is, the budget was already kind of made up. Believe it or not, my department didn't even know that the max was supposed to work with the parks,
No.
you know,
Same with us,
unfortunately.
we didn't know who.
You know, so now we have that communication. Now, with time, starting in May, we need to sit down and say, look, this is what we need, right? Tell me, this is how much money we're gonna need, so I can present it in our budget for the max.
Yeah.
Last year, nobody was approached you guys. Nobody, hey,
No.
what do we need? Hey, here it is, last year's
We
deal.
turned in
and,
a budget and never got a
you
response.
know, never got a response. So now that we can go into the budget. Now, for immediate purposes, I don't know, if Dennis told you, like I walked in, I met with him, some concerns that he wants as far as the and I think maybe Mr. Hyman want to hear this, is that any machinery that we need, where I have to go appropriate those funds to go to council, so we can take them out of the 104,000 to go buy the rotor meters and all that stuff that we need. You know?
And so that's the next point, is that, as Gary was saying, if we need to figure out by finance, I think there's a list of items that can be bought with that money.
Right.
And if it's something that equipment, hey, that's our lifeline, that's our the blood, I mean, the course lives and dies off of that.
Right.
So whatever he's gonna need, I'd rather spend the money on that capital improvement than on something that's gonna be kind of superficial. We can deal with that later.
Rick, the mindset, and again, coming into the city, and I'm battling this right now with the sports complex. The mindset that I need to bring into our representatives and everybody is that whether it be a golf course or it be a baseball field, it's built from the inside out. You put the money on the field, you put the money on the course, you put the money on the lights, and then you can worry about restrooms and concessions and that other crap.
Yeah.
You know, because teams are not going to come play because you have nice badass concession stand or you're going to have badass restrooms. The money needs to be in baseball. There's two things you don't negotiate: the field and the lights. You already told this. All right, and the golf course, this money needs to be appropriated on the field. I mean, I'm sorry, on the course.
Yeah, of course.
That's where you're gonna bring your attraction. Yeah, you have your beers, you can eat, and that's the mindset that I'm trying to change these people. Is that you build? It's the most important equipment in sports is the field.
That's your product right there.
Right, and unfortunately, and I'm not talking about maybe they don't know any better. Is that they don't think, or they just see dollar sign there. Where's they're going? And it's we got to spend money on the course.
Well, I mean, so then there's another course of action from us that we need to, I know that we've already got, I've sat down for hours with about 3 of the councilmen now. And part of the reason is because they don't play. The other ones don't play. So, but you gotta give them that sense of value in there when they do show up, the other ones that, and so these 3 right here are doing all the selling to the other ones. So we need to keep them in line, and I was talking to one of them the last 2 weeks ago, and I was giving him all the plans that we've had and how we're looking. And obviously he wasn't happy with you know, what he saw, but I told him that comes from, this has been in the works, it was bound to happen because of things that not even this committee is aware, right? But now the biggest thing is we got 2 of you here on the table now. And so we gotta pan this out, and we gotta figure out what our course of action is gonna be going into even before budget, and what we're gonna do to get there.
Right.
Because there's no way that I'm gonna have Tom wait, you know, the next 3 or 4 months for him to get whatever he's gonna need to get it up to par again.
Yep.
It's just that, because it's gonna get, it might
Costs
even
more in
get
the long
worse. Yeah, it might get worse.
It's easier to maintain it to
So
fix. You know?
I think the number one thing we need to figure out right now is we need to figure out a list of go-to items right now that we can tap into that fund. Because the money's there. The
Yeah,
money's
I just
there.
need to get a total before April the 4th or
If you need
6th.
$50,000 worth of equipment or whatever it is, that's gonna last you another 3 or 4 or 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, then I think that if that's what's gonna help reduce your number one, your labor cost and your downtime, because you're using more labor than equipment, then, you know, we need to tap into those funds right away. And that was what it was for. You know, now that we know that it's there, the finance lady or the budget lady that came in the last time, she did a great job in explaining it. But I think the question was, what can we use it for?
Right.
And Gary brought up a couple of great points about that. But, I mean, if it's something that we're gonna be able to tap into so we can help Tom, that it doesn't have to come from your
No.
budget. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That I want, you know, at the end of the day, my personal goal is for this thing to be self-sufficient, so we can pretty much prove to everybody that, hey, man, this place can make money.
Right.
It's got the rounds right now. Everybody's dying. All the tournaments are going over there. But with that, what I saw over this past winter is that the wear and tear was dramatic. I mean, it was just too many rounds. And then plus, you know, the environment that was out there, the weather and then the Poana thing coming up, it was a perfect storm for disaster. So now we got to get it back up so that it can withstand, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, one of the things that I've noticed over the last 9-10 years is that that's a super resistant course. Man, you could have a bunch of rounds, and then the next week, I mean, the grass is just right up there, growing up against all those divots that were left behind over there. And you know, I just want to get it back to where whatever he's going to need to make it easier, let's get it going. So let's get a plan of action there.
Yeah, I think you can take comfort in the fact that as far as turf quality and wall-to-wall turf on that golf course, there's no turf loss out there. What we're talking about is ball roll and getting those greens to roll, not 11 months out of the year, but 12. And you know, that February window there, you know, you got the Jack Brown, you got
Board came out. High
Border
school.
Olympics.
High school
That's kind of a
tournaments.
focal point time of the year, and so, you know, what do we do with that? You know, maybe we overseed the greens. You know, that's a possibility. I know that we would do things differently from a maintenance standpoint that I just kind of reviewed with you for next year. But I think going forward, you're only going to see the golf course green up and get better. It looks better than it did last week. We had some 25, we got down to 24, 25 degrees.
Right after the tournament.
Right after that tournament.
Browned up
And,
everything.
there wasn't a green piece of grass on that whole
Yeah.
golf course. So it's coming out kind of slow again. But I think just a game plan, you know, if those tournaments are going to be there that time of the year, then, you know, maybe we consider
So
overseeding.
it brings up another issue that it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us, but we have to be prepared for it. Everybody's shutting down. Golf courses around the country are shutting down. Tournaments are being canceled. We need to also figure out a game plan of there's not gonna be any revenues if we don't open it up. Maybe not open. It's open to the public, but the tournaments might be
Yeah, we
canceled. I
have-
know the school district is considering not having it.
We have last week in March, we have 2 high school tournaments, and then district tournaments. So, you know, you're looking at about $12,000 loss in revenue out of those. Everything else, kind of our wedding season comes to an end this Saturday, and we go 5 weeks without a wedding. Then in May, we have 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So that's kind of helpful because, you know, hopefully we get through this whole scare. I don't know, they haven't really told us anything from the city regarding.
Let me tell you, I'm sorry.
Did you go to the meeting this
Yeah,
morning?
I didn't go. We had a huge meeting and, man, that was crazy. So just to kind of give you, Dennis, a heads up on this, at 5:30, we have that city council meeting. Okay? But pretty much the direction that we're gonna go with is, and I don't wanna disclose much because I can't, but on your end, SMG, which is a company that runs the arena, their corporate is gonna tell them what to do. The city's not gonna tell them, hey, shut it down at this time, okay? So in your case, landscape needs is gonna tell you, you know, what you need
Well,
to
the
do.
advantage of us is that we're an outdoor, and then the
Right.
virus has a hard time surviving at anything above 75 degrees.
Right.
So we are kind of in that happy zone.
Right.
And obviously, we'll play it by ear, right? If something really happens or somebody at the course ended up getting sick, well, then
Right.
we'll obviously play it by ear. But
But I think it's gonna be a corporate call.
yeah.
To answer
so
your
that'll-
question. So
then
that might help.
Corporate
you
is
know.
ready to make that call, but they were gonna give you guys.
I was gonna use it as a plus also, I mean, because not too many rounds are gonna be played, so therefore it'll give it a little bit more time.
Yeah,
to
well, it might
recover.
be.
What you're saying, what you're suggesting to these 2 gentlemen is that they come up with a dollar what they need to start working the golf course even before the next
Correct.
budget cycle.
Well, it's because we have that 104,000 there.
Okay. And then, once they put that list together, then they need to go with the finance folks there and find out what the funding source is. If it was already defined, then you have a budget amendment and you go out and get it approved by council.
Right.
In terms of operating the budget, operating the max, and I've heard this from day one, would closing one day help you?
I'll let them talk to it first.
As far as getting some maintenance work done out
Yeah.
there? I don't think so. I think we have a challenge in February because we've got high school golf, we've got Jack Brown, we've got a really busy month. But I don't think that rounds are really hampering us from
Okay.
trying to get done what we need to get done out there.
No, that's fine. I mean,
But
so-
yeah,
You have
a
slow
lot of
day like
courses do
Tuesdays
that.
or Wednesdays.
Labor-wise, it would help us, especially in the busy wedding season and all that tournament.
because of the overtime. and all that
Overtime.
bullshit,
Yeah.
Mhm. So, that is
But
something
the
to,
point, I didn't know that this was, you know, and I'm glad that was brought up about the labor.
Mhm.
And, but that was, so even when the other guys were there, the
Mhm.
Foresight guy, that was always a point of concern.
Mhm.
For one, when we were building the fence and
Mhm.
that thing, the Mandel, we were paying $15-17 an hour,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And then we're also giving per diems for mileage.
Correct.
To get people out there to do the work.
Mhm. And that's a great tribute to his team, the maintenance team. I mean, that guys are.
But what I'm saying is, we gotta,
Gotta give.
you got, you know, most of the people are from the south, right?
Exactly.
Work with him.
So, yeah, you're right.
We gotta bring that, never mind about the bodies.
Yeah.
Having additional body. But you gotta pay people well, man.
Exactly.
I think, and I think we can get it done and still do what we're doing right now. I'm, in my company, man, I don't pay anybody minimum wage because
You can't.
you can't. Nobody's gonna survive with this. I mean, it hasn't kept up with inflation forever, so no. This is the other part of that for right now that I'm thinking about kicking it around, and that's why I did what I did last week. I was wondering what it would take and how it feels to go out there and really perform some of the duties that you guys are doing. And sometimes you have to put yourself in that position so that you can understand. But it brought a bunch of ideas to mind and just talking to everybody. Number one, if we're not gonna have tomorrow, starting tomorrow, the added bodies that you're gonna need, we're gonna have to figure out creative ways of getting people out there. Man, those 10 people that called me last week, Rick, I was telling them what I did. And I told them, and I pitched the idea to you. If a guy goes out there and donates 1 hour's worth of work, man, get him a free round. And so that the strain that it's putting on your guys down at the barn is tremendous. And I said, if I can go out there and fix divots and do whatever we have to do that, you know, there's guys, let me add it. Number two, there's the guys, hey man, I can volunteer as a marshal out there. I know you only have one, you know, I think that's part of the problem. And then I started thinking about, you know, when I was fixing those divots, that, man, it hasn't been done in 10 years. I mean, to this extent where everything is covered, because you're already starting to see the landscape do that. And so I started fixing all these other ones, and I said, if we can rush this thing over the next 2 weeks and just cover them all up and figure out what we're gonna do, even have the high school kids, if we pay them, you know, part-time wages or on a part-time basis, tell one of the coaches, you know, have them come out here on a Sunday morning and clean all the carts the way they're supposed to, and we get them like that. Or they're also doing community service hours at every high school that they can donate that time. In the summertime, we're providing internships at least at LISD. We're providing internships and work together with an MOU with the city, and these kids get paid for that internship. They can go out there and do some of that stuff. So those are just some of the ideas that we can.
Well, let me talk
we
to
can
that.
start tomorrow with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a plus if you can get somebody to do it. Speaking about giving a round and all that, the only thing is our rounds are so numbered that, believe it or not, Paga, who probably in this past year lost 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah.
You do the math real quick. 5 or
Yeah.
6 guys not playing on a Wednesday and a
52
Sunday.
weeks.
52 weeks. You're talking about $20,000 already, and you're like, wow, that quick.
Like that.
So if I'm already getting somebody that's out there that's giving me $50 or $45 or $37, depending when they're playing, and you start giving that away, it's fine. I mean, but just understand that it's a give and take. It's correlated.
Oh yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it, and it's not going to be long term.
Yeah.
It's something so that right now, that if you want bodies tomorrow,
Yeah.
that there's a way of getting bodies out there tomorrow, and so that, but I was pleasantly surprised after all the yelling and all the stuff that they told me. everybody came up with the same, man, Rick, this is our home course, man.
Yeah.
Whatever I have to do, I told him what I was doing, he says, whatever I have to do to volunteer to help out, I'm there, whatever you need.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let's figure out a game plan and we'll figure out on something. But I think everybody, the frustration was there, but they liked the idea that this exists and they're willing,
Yeah.
but more importantly, it was pleasantly surprised that all of them were telling me.
The trash
whatever I
can
have to-
bucket with sand in it came because me and George, who is an employee there, we went and played around and said, you know what, we gotta start doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we put clubs on 2 bags, I drove one cart, he drove the other one. We hit our shots and we did 15, 20 and get 15, 20.
One whole trash can, Conrado. I did number 1, number 2 only, fixing those divots. Just 2 holes with one whole
I
trash
got
can.
37 text messages
Oye,
from
those divots come from the you guys?
This was some of the Tammy you guys, but it's also because believe it or not, I went and I watched the college players play, and they have a cart with and they didn't put sand. It's like, man, I don't get it. I get it when you're walking, I understand, but you had a cart, and I tell the guys, check all the carts and check the sand. He goes, most of them have sand still, and they're the ones that take those monsters.
Because the guys that used to
Tammy.
come over from Lauderdale,
We call you right back up.
Oh,
yeah, they didn't like to put sand. Because
Yeah.
Like yesterday, when we
Work
play, I
under
went with the
different-
2 and I
Yeah.
fill them up and I fill them up and I fill them up.
Yeah, I
The
always
kids-
did 8.
The kids didn't do it, I mean, they're
Yeah, well,
beginners, I
mhm.
mean, pero the other guys-
Yeah, I think.
We need to, to me, the most important thing here going forward for the new budget, we really gotta rework the budget to include not only your operations, but also what we wanna do from a capital standpoint.
well,
That does not affect your budget. That means,
Yeah.
that means extra money comes from other sources so we
The
can do.
past
what
2
we-
years, we put a capital contribution plan capital plan on the budget and.
No, but, well,
Exactly.
okay, now, now it's different with this thing.
Yeah, all right.
So-
Mr. Monroe,
I'll see you
always a
again.
pleasure.
Tom, I'll see you again.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Conrado. Appreciate your
Yeah,
feedback,
man.
man. Appreciate your feedback.
Hello, Coach.
So,
Yes, sir.
then, recapping that what we're gonna do this week, we're gonna get a dollar figure from you on the equipment end of it. If that's really what you think and want, that needs to happen. Aside from that, I like the idea that you wanna try something new on the herbicide side of it. I just don't know what the cost is on that and possibly we can work with that. But if we get those numbers together this week, send them over to Jay, that way we can walk them through to.
It needs to be there before April 6th.
April 6th, right?
April, whatever that first Monday is.
Yeah.
By tomorrow. He knows what he needs.
Yeah, no,
Is there,
Write
is
it
there
down.
anything we can do, Jay, that, so if they need it by tomorrow, that we can access, what we did the last time, access your budget so that you can get reimbursed on April 6th?
I can
Well,
understand.
I know that a lot of it right now.
Not
is-
not the equipment end of it, but
Not
it
just
was.
the-
In the herbicide section, I think it's
Herbicides.
a sit and wait because we've already applied, yesterday we
Yeah.
applied some and now we're talking about curb maybe. But also you think the sun's gonna really help out?
Well, yeah, I mean, once you get above 90 degrees, Poena dies, it's done. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna see that stuff till next winter.
Which would be when our
If
new
we-
fiscal-
If we don't address it, which we plan on
Which we plan
addressing
to.
it, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be toast here.
I was thinking about that, the natural part of when they do that is not necessarily the herbicide, but let's say you were talking about possibly consider reseeding, and it just so that it chokes it up, that it doesn't allow it to come up?
Correct.
Is that the?
Overseeding, you
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, so,
Overseeding would just kind of give you a winter grass that's growing that you could mow, that would give a smoother surface during those months for putting. I think, most of the,
oh, I thought it was for choking down that deal, for choking it down and not allowing it to pop up.
a pre-emergent would do that.
Oh, okay.
It would inhibit the seeds down in the soil from even coming
Oh.
up, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I'm
The
thinking.
only thing we talked about this before is that our when you do that stuff, overseed and all that, is what, September, October? And then March and April's when you're waiting for it to die out. Those are like our money maker
Yeah,
months.
yeah.
So you'd have to shut down the course almost for what, a week? While you do all the reseeding and all that?
I
But to
think
kill
to
kill what came out of the overseeding?
You're talking about
Oh, yeah,
overseeding?
yeah, when you overseed, like we would have to shut
Yeah,
down.
no, so that would be out of the question, because you want it, it's 52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
That's what.
So I think the pre-emergent.
I
and all
think
that stuff.
with the time frame that we have right now, we're looking at another 6 months before we have to ask the question again.
Mhm.
And so we have a game plan between now and then, so to to try different things so that we can be ahead of the problem.
Yeah.
You know, we can.
And then by the
you know,
time
do
it comes next time to do it, we'll new fiscal year in there, and we can put a line item or whatever we need to in the chem and
Okay.
and increase it by
Okay.
whatever it is that we need extra. You know?
So right now, then the question would be anything that, Jay, if you can double check if we can, let's say, divert some of the monies that you have in there and then get reimbursed through, but you have to ask finance about that.
Yeah.
If you can get reimbursed because of the timeliness that we need, whatever he's gonna need, but the equipment for sure, to get a proposal going between now and April 6th, right?
Yeah.
And get it submitted so that
Right.
we can get that going.
So we need to go in there that time and say, okay, this is what, you know, I know you want the real mower and whatever we need, so we can tap into the 104,000, because that way I can go to council just one time and.
And
you know,
then,
this is
and
what we
then,
need.
and then, that we need to have as a committee, and not even a committee, because, you know, I want it to be clear that we're not the experts at this. We want you to survive with what you do, with what you guys do, and we're merely gonna be calling balls and strikes.
Yeah.
That's what I wanna be doing here. That, hey, no, Jay, you know, this is, but he needs it more than you do, and things like that.
Yeah.
That's, we can be that group of people that does that. But at the end of it, I wanna have a game plan for the full amount, but leaving a reserve
Yeah.
in there at all times, so that it can continue to grow. And so we're looking at items that are desperately needed, that we cannot get through a budget increase, you know, because we're gonna need the budget increase. And then once we get that, have that fund grow. And like I said, at the end of the day, I think we can prove to everybody that that golf course can be self-sufficient. It's not gonna need anything else. But, I mean, you know, at the same time that, at one point get in there so that we don't have to be relying on the city as much as we do.
We went through this a little bit with unit trade. You know, they were treating it like a white elephant. You know, that no le pongan dinero, no le pongan dinero. And then, you know, look what happened. We put the money and turf into it, and now the decals came, and you know all that stuff. And so now, you know, everybody's proud of it. You know, and I think that's the mentality right now of the MAX. But now with new members and new city managers, you know, hey, you know, that's not going to be a white elephant anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's always been my thinking, is that, you know, and no disrespect to the people that were there before, but they used to nickel and dime you to death, and that's no way of getting it done. Either you have a game plan, and talk to the experts, this is what we need. And it's a true figure, and you're gonna get results from it. But what was happening in the past, even with that, is that this is what we need, and they give you this much. And so I tell it, let's see how you do it with that.
Yeah, thank-
And then so what you do, you get that done. I mean, it's been the story of Casablanca for the longest time. You know, you need this much to get it done, and then they nickel and dime it. It would die out, it wouldn't work, here we go reinvesting again. And that's not what I wanna do over here.
Yeah.
I want this to be top notch, and I agree with Conrad. If they're gonna, I want to, by the time they build everything out there, that it's gonna be sustaining itself just with those rounds. They might not even need people from out here, you know, but it is gonna take a pounding. That course, what I saw, I couldn't believe it did take a pounding while those tournaments going on, and that's why I did what I did, and I'm gonna continue to do what I'm doing. But I do want us to address over this next coming week, what are we gonna do about the quality control aspect of it, the cards, and the amount of trash. I know you put one trash can out there, a couple of trash cans out there. Oh, before I forget, Dennis, have Andrew and all those guys, when they get in there, pound on the fact, don't forget to fix your divots. Don't forget to fix your
Yeah.
divots. Because if that's the case, that's why the marshal, that would be the marshal's job to do. But we gotta continue to do it. But I think with what the work we did, you and I, and I think T. Robert and Hector
Yeah,
did
they
it
did
also.
also.
The work we did, when I called Paga, I called my brother-in-law Luis.
Yeah,
I
Luis.
told him, hey, Luis, get your guys out. No, it's not. It's everybody, Luis. Sometimes you don't. I don't expect.
Yeah,
Okay, que se
it's
te olvida,
everybody,
que se
it's
te olvida uno, that's fine. But then he called me the next day. Goes, man, y'all did a lot of work, and people saw that, so they started fixing it themselves, and that was the idea. You were leading by example. We did it, and we just gotta continue to see. When they see the patches of sand there, they'll take the sand out and do it themselves. But the problem is that one of the complaints was, well, the carts don't have any sand. So
And we're getting more Paga members than if we're getting 35 or more every week.
And that happened because I sat down
Yeah.
with Mike and said, how can we get you guys? You guys down were 19, 20.
Yeah.
So I said, look, every time you get over 30, I'm gonna do beers at $2.50 and a free meal.
Yeah.
And it took them 2 weeks, but now they're already on their fourth or fifth week at
every month,
35.
boom, 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 they be
So-
coming every 35, 36, 38 guys
Yeah, so
on a Sunday.
you know, a free meal. And, you know, at the end of the day, Lorenzo works magic in the kitchen and he can make, you know, a nice meal, hearty meal. But it
You
brings
come,
us
give you your meal,
18 more
finish.
rounds of golf for that Sunday. And then they don't like beer, but.
Yeah.
Hey, and again, the only way we're gonna do this, and we have to be candid with each other about every situation. But yeah, part of those calls were the quality of the food was also not there. And it wasn't on a paga thing, but it was on a tournament thing.
Yeah.
All of them complained about the food at tournaments. It's not up to par. But the individual stuff, man, that guy has it.
Yeah.
That it's just when he's dealing with quantity, I'm not sure that he's understanding that a lot of them are looking at that.
Yeah.
And they're not getting it.
Yeah, that time was Rene Rangel. He had a couple of raw burgers, and it wasn't that they were raw; they were just more medium rare, medium. And what happened was
When I talk to them, when you have plate sales, and I've had some of the biggest ones here in town, I used to be of the mentality. One older gentleman told me, the bottom steaks that you put on the ice chest, leave them raw, and it'll cook with the heat that's in there. Well, that's the theory, and I think that's a theory that I told, what's his name, the theory that's a theory, but they're not cooking.
Yeah.
So I said, you might have to get them cooked a little bit more, and not leave them
put 'em in
rare.
the-
Yeah, leave them medium rare or something, and
Yeah.
it might.
And what happens is, I mean, when we started that place, it wasn't made for weddings.
No.
So sometimes on a Saturday, he has a wedding where he's preparing 200 plates, and then he's got an order of
And-
burgers and an order of this, and then, okay, now he has to gauge the girls finish sooner or the boys finish sooner. Do you just put all the burgers out there and just hope that nobody steals an extra burger? Because then you go to a coach and say, Coach, I'm gonna charge you instead of 102 burgers, 104. Well, who took it? We didn't take it. Well, I mean,
I
honestly.
get it.
So
I get it.
he's always kind of gauging, or sometimes we put it in the burners like, the bun's too squishy.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, but you two guys took 7 hours to play around,
Yeah.
and you know we needed to get the food. You know,
I get you.
So
I get you.
it-
So we have to do a balancing act on
Mhm.
that so that
Yeah.
the quality control again doesn't.
So
We need to figure it out.
One
then.
way we combated that was pasta.
Yeah, cook
You
meals.
did-
Cook
you did
meals that
pretty
are more
good on the
susceptible.
pasta. The
Yeah,
last two
the
tournament,
pastas work out great because
Yeah.
it has a little. The bun, if you leave it in there too long, it gets all squishy. Or if the meal you think it's gonna
You
cook there,
look
it
at
doesn't.
Mexican food and you can
Yeah.
do either
Or the
enchiladas or
pasta,
something that can
sí,
sit there for a while,
correct.
and you're not gonna have that problem.
So that's what we've been leaning towards now is the
Yeah.
pasta because one, the kids love it because they fill up
Yeah.
quick,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And they're tired of burgers because we've been doing the tournaments there 6 years now. and
They
it's
all of them
burger.
eat damn Whataburger in every out of town tournament, so yes,
That's all they do.
They don't want it anymore. The
Whataburger.
kids don't want it,
But
but
that's
see,
it,
but see
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. That's where we stand out. That we can offer something that most people don't offer, and it's not just to quiet them down. Even if it's pasta, it's probably less expensive to cook anyway, and
Yeah.
the
Tastes better.
markup is better. But then they're gonna enjoy it even more, because to them it's like a gourmet meal.
Mhm.
But
I think it's pronounced gourmet.
huh? Having said that, like I said, I'm gonna continue to do what I'm doing in there. I enjoy it. I might drag along a couple of guys in there to get that done, but hopefully, I thought it looked like less. I need to work on 13 and 14 for sure. But it's like I told the high school kids, because the kids actually a couple of kids from United came up to me, and I told them, no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault because you can't be walking around with a bottle in your hand, right? But in a way, it's us. We need to put another sand rack on the bathroom on number 13, 14.
Good order.
Yeah, because by the time you get, like when I finish 12, I fix I get new balls on number 10. I fix number 10 and number 11. And then on number 12, I replace them and I use them all on 13. I don't have anything for 14, 15, 16, and 17. And so if we put another one in there, that might alleviate some of the problems. I'm not sure what to say about the part threes, to put a bucket of sand right next to the tee boxes so that your guys won't have to be fixing them all the time.
Yeah, I think we'll take this approach that we're doing right now, and we'll figure it out. Just because, I mean, you saw where the toilets were for the border.
Yeah.
Luckily, it worked opposite, right? There's big green patches now because that kept them from the freeze.
Uh-huh.
But in the summer, what's going to happen? Every time they move to mow, that's gonna become yellow,
Yeah.
and it's a standout yellow patch. Hey, what's going on there? Well, because we moved it.
Yeah.
Or if you leave it in the same spot, well, it's gonna create a bare
Yeah,
spot.
yeah,
You know, that's
yeah.
just gonna make an eyesore. So that's something I think, addressing this with the budget and all that.
You know what, no, but I think you're right. I can continue to do what I'm doing over
Oh.
there, but, and the reason is because it really just needed to have, it needed to show.
Exactly.
Because
And
people
now
are saying, well, nobody takes care of it, I'm not gonna take care of it, right?
Yeah.
And then they throw up their arms, but then they see, hey, shoot, everybody's
Yeah.
fixing them, I'm gonna start doing it. I think
Between you, me, and I've got another couple of workers that like golf that are also said, no, you know what, next time I'll do all the same, just load me up with a bucket.
Yeah,
And we
Yeah.
can address most of that. And then eventually it'll be addressed with the fiscal, when the new budget gets signed
Yeah.
in, because we will accommodate for that, you
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And say like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a guy, like this is what the solution to the carts was gonna be. We're gonna have a detailer only, because right now the guy that's doing carts, he pulls out carts, takes out trash from upstairs, goes, gets it all, takes out deliveries, because technically the guys come in and they don't wanna wait for their taco. They're
Right.
like, catch me on hole 2, hole
Yeah.
3, and I get it, I'm a golfer and I like to get there and get going, cause I
Yeah.
got stuff to do. Okay, but now he's gone, let's say they're hole 4, it's gonna take him 30 minutes to get back and forth, and then also go fill up the sands.
Well, yeah, well, one guy, that's what I'm telling you, he's
Yeah.
overwhelmed, and I saw him, and that's what prompted me to do that. I just
Yeah.
wanna see what this guy's going through.
So that'll alleviate that in long term, but in the short term, you and I and some other guys on the golf course
But I
will be
think,
the
I think
solution.
that, and I really wanna incorporate, I was talking to Hector Velasquez yesterday, and he used to get his kids to fix
Yeah.
the tee boxes. And I really think if we get those kids to, like Jay did, and most baseball teams, what did they do, Jay? Those guys are cutting grass and doing everything to fix their own field.
After private practice, they drag it and water it, and
Well,
everybody got their location.
That kind of comes down on the coaches.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm talking to
Yeah.
T. Robert, he was willing.
T. Roberts is
Hector.
always one willing to
Yeah,
help. Hector's
yeah,
one of those always
yeah.
willing to help.
Jesse, now that Jesse helped me with this last time, Jesse was telling me, hey, Jesse, I know your kids come from far away, but just pick a day and pick, and we'll, and talk to Dennis, and we'll set them up to do something so that they can feel invested in the property there.
So
that they do
they
something.
take ownership.
Huh? They take
They take ownership. That's what I tell my guys at the
Yeah.
field. Take ownership of your field.
Now,
you know.
and then going back to the trash cans, Jay, I know that, and that's what I was telling about the country club, be careful what you wish for, because some of those guys over there are not used to picking up after themselves. And so, yeah, we get the benefit of having some of those guys in there, but the cost in picking up all their crap is.
So, we got the signs in, they say city ordinance, we've hung some up already. But if we don't have the posts, we need some posts. I don't know if you have any of those posts. If not, I can go purchase some. But
Will you check?
I have talked to Moreno, that we're
Okay.
gonna go out there and look at it.
Okay,
How
and
we're gonna put it.
How many
If-
do we
if-
need? How many do you need?
at least 4 more posts, because we can use the posts we have right now that have some stop signs and
Yeah,
one-way
we'll get
signs.
it. You need-
Yeah, I
We might have
talked
some
to
in the
them.
warehouse.
Yeah,
We'll go out
and
there.
we hung up 2, and obviously in the pro shop, we're not very mechanically inclined, and it took us about 4.5 hours, right, to do it straight. But if one of the guys can come, and one guy did it quick.
Where are you putting those signs at?
So right now, they're in the handicap section, because that was right there where we put, it says, or city ordinance,
Yes.
blah, 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 and then also keep Laredo beautiful. I'm gonna put some over there where some people like to park and drink after hours and throw all their trash, and I have pictures.
Over in the back.
Where's
Yeah.
that?
It's on, over there, like between 10 and 12, there's a little parking area by the practice
Yeah,
green.
atrás.
But we don't have posters because there's no posts, so we need those posts.
You know, I mean, but that's what I'm telling you, if we can get it, I personally, I counted, we needed about anywhere between 15 to 20 trash cans that are needed in any given area. Because, the one that you put on 14, you put a trash can in there, that thing was full. And I think people just need, because those little trash cans right next to the water jugs, a lot of them don't throw stuff in there, I don't know what it is, maybe it's too small. They feel that it's only for the cups. But, and you see bottles and stuff like that, they're not supposed to have there in the first place, thrown out in the monte. So I start picking up all that kind of stuff, but there's no big trash can to just boom, throw it in there. But I think if they see it there, and then with the signage, again, we kind of have to set up everybody for success. We can't fool ourselves thinking that they're gonna walk an extra half block to go throw their trash. They're just gonna dump it there. So we gotta have to, if we know that they're gathering there, put it in there. And I'll personally, what I keep yelling to everybody out there, pick up your trash or fix your divots, and I'm yelling every time that I'm playing out there. But not everybody's gonna be doing that. So, but if we set them up so that, there's, oh shoot, they put a trash can over there, pretty good. And I guarantee they'll start using it.
Well,
And I think-
one they shouldn't be drinking because they're bringing in their own beer. That's why I talked to Ruth about if there's a park police or somebody that goes out once in a while just to show some presence. Because at the end of the day, it can affect us long term because if we lose our liquor license, pues,
Well, yeah, no,
you
we
know.
had the same issue at Unitrade.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's just because, you know, I can swing by and know they can hide it or whatever, but if they see somebody with some kind of authority that can say, hey, I can write you a ticket right now, you know, just so that they know that there is somebody out there because it's tough, you know, us also being the
But you
enforcers.
can do all the policing also. The policing is not gonna be.
See if we can talk to park police to go, I mean, like on a Saturday days.
On the weekends, we have said to go Saturdays, Sundays, we could.
Yeah, just to swing by and just so
Saturday
some
and
presence. Senior Olympics, real quick,
Yeah.
I can-
It's gonna be verified,
on 5:30.
it's gonna be 5:30, but just be ready to say no.
It's gonna be from March 20,
No,
We're gonna cancel
the Corona.
no, but they're gonna cancel the Senior Olympics. Is that
next
what you're
week.
saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're waiting for.
City championships.
They're gonna cancel.
Well, city championship is just something some Joaquin Rodriguez wanted to talk about, and we talked about.
Oh,
it
yeah,
when
we did.
Where it would be a tournament that we would treat it like anybody, the golf committee would be in charge of it. All the money raised could be done to do little side projects.
Yeah.
That could be your immediate, hey, you need $1,200 because you want plants for something. You know what? It's in there, and it would be us because you guys hold the money.
Yeah.
And you guys would write us the check, and it would come out of. But all these tournaments raise money for their own thing. The Max can do one for themselves.
I think so.
And it
then-
become the city
And then you already have a list of the.
And what days you wanna do that?
You're gonna have.
Well, it would probably be later in the year because it would be something not to rival Laredo Open, but in the same sense, it would be like a city championship. So you'd have, it's all medal play and it's a winner and here you're this champion of the city for the day for A, B, C, D flights. So probably in October,
October would be
something in that time of year, very nice, predictable weather. So that would be good. And these are other little things that we were gonna talk about. Obviously, Sticks for Kids, it's a program that I went to the general meeting conference. It's this program that'll give you golf clubs for kids in the junior high school, elementary level. And maybe we can tie that in the summer programs, Coach, with the Parks and Rec departments, whether it's 3 or 4 sections.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Paga's getting older on us, we're losing golfers, but we need the supply of new
We
golfers.
need to build that pipeline.
And we're the-
Set up, let's talk to, you know Nora?
No
Nora,
junior golf, we don't have any junior golf.
yeah, talk to Nora and she goes to Anita so that we can incorporate that in
Just
our
so you'll know,
program.
that at LISD, we started pushing harder on coaches to introduce golf at the 6th grade level.
That's,
And so that we can start getting into.
that's what this whole thing ties into, because every major city over 200,000 people, they have junior high school golf already as their,
Yeah.
like you do volleyball and all
Yeah.
that. Laredo, there's no reason, as Mr. Jacobs once pointed out, why we shouldn't have kids competing at the state level every year. We have sunshine 330 days out of the year.
Yeah.
Now we have the max and all that good stuff. So, I mean, we should be able to, but
Well, I
obviously
mean, that's
start
gonna
them
take, again, all of that stuff is there, and like I tell all the campus coordinators, it's gonna take some effort to coordinate and to communicate. And it really does, after that, it doesn't take much time to put all these things together, but it's just a matter of putting the right people together and then start to push it.
Yeah.
But, I like that, man, I really do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well,
And that's the summer program, the same thing?
No, we couldn't vote on
yeah,
anything.
it would
We
tie
couldn't
into
vote,
that.
but, Ruth, on next month, just bring so we can approve the minutes and all that kind of the stuff we have to vote on.
So I've approached them already because they can give me a set for the golf course, that's no problem, that's what they already do. But what I wanna approach them, but obviously with a commitment from the city, ask them for maybe 30 sets. You know, this program is promoted by the Golf Builders Association of the United States. It's in their best interest to keep growing the game, obviously. So they give you these sets and they range from like 5-year-olds to
No, and we have a
17.
recreation account that we can help you with. Just sit down,
Yeah.
set them up a meeting with Anita and Nora May.
Because obviously it
Soon,
would
so
start
we
out at the rec centers where it'd be easier for them to get there, and then from there we could say, okay, 3 times a year, we're gonna go to the max and play on a real golf course,
Right.
and from there you know they get the taste, and some of them will fall in love with the sport, and they'll go already into high school already be able to compete. Sometimes right now we get kids in high school. I know you did this
Yeah,
year.
yesterday I had 3 of the kids say, I love more than tennis, and they were telling their mom
Yeah.
that they didn't wanna play tennis, they wanna play golf.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that
First
they
time
had
they
been
ever
to
got
the
a
golf
chance.
course. They said, no, Mama, I don't wanna play tennis anymore, I wanna play golf.
So
So they push them to tennis, but they don't like tennis. But they like golf.
So that's
Well,
kind of an
where it
initiative.
That's where it starts. Some
To
of
grow
them
the
have never
game.
even seen it now. And we used to be
They were
dominant at
complaining.
LASD with that. We used to dominate in the eighties. And now it just, we just
Well,
don't, but it
Bri-
starts with like everything else.
Brian Navarro was there for 9 years, no? Playing
Yeah.
at Nixon?
Yeah, no, he's not a Tiger. But the pipeline needs to be set up, man, and I think this is, we're talking about it over here. I'm gonna see if I can put Chris and everybody together with you, and T. Robert and everybody.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. The coaches helping with the divots and us growing the game and fiscal budgets getting put into play with already,
Like I said, I think collectively, if everybody gets involved like that, it's gonna be a short-term deal to get everybody involved, and I think like I said, everybody gets ownership of it, and,
And I think
just get it
Corrado,
there, by the time you get whatever you're gonna need.
Corrado brings up a good point. Obviously, we try to fit the budget to the number we think we need to hit
Yeah.
or corporate, so we're kind of stuck in the middle, trying to foresee that those numbers work, but sometimes,
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's gotta be brutally honest and very realistic, because if you're trying to do it, because some of those guys might be sitting over there in Nebraska thinking, no, I think you should put it higher than this, and realistically it can't be done. Are you gonna, the one who loses credibility here is you, not them, so I think we just need to stick to our guns in a fair manner to get this thing going, and then, look, if we put conservative numbers for right now, meet them, and then we can have over a 5-year growth plan that's in there and accomplish that. You can probably hit it next year, but you better be more conservative about it, because you don't know what's gonna go on.
Yeah.
And then just keep on hitting, and then you up the ante as you go along. You just keep
nobody
on going.
realized this when the oil and field industry, because nobody believes they're golfers, but that's 3,000 rounds we've lost
Yeah.
from oil industry.
Yeah,
That's 3,000 rounds at, let's say $40 a piece, that's 120 grand. Luckily, the weddings have offset that.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, they didn't only pay those 40 grand. Those guys would walk in, dame los zapatos, dame
Yeah.
bolas. Hey, I need give me a shirt. You want a shirt? All on the company card, and you're like, man, that's good for business, but
Right.
they're all gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Getting barrels at $36.
yeah.
When-
And it's gonna be lower. I'm about to get some. Anyway, but, bueno.
All right, gentlemen.
Anything else?
Appreciate it. Let's go, I just need let's get those numbers together so
Yeah.
we can put